All right, everybody. Oh boy. Tell me you're losing Pennsylvania without telling me you're losing Pennsylvania. The Trump campaign sues Pennsylvania county over claim it is turning away voters. Now, don't get me wrong. If there is a county in Pennsylvania that is actually turning away, voters, people who are supposed to be able to vote and not counting their votes, that's a pretty big problem. But Donald Trump and the Republicans in general actively gain from less people voting. Statistically speaking, you can argue the Republicans don't want to reduce the amount of people voting to help themselves. It would be a wrong argument, but you can argue it because it is a somewhat debatable topic, I suppose. But one thing that cannot be debated is the objective fact that when less people vote and there is lower voter turnout, the Republicans have an exponentially higher chance of winning. And considering how dedicated the Republicans are to winning at all costs, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me is all I'm saying. That aside, though, Donald Trump genuinely caring about voters not having the ability to vote seems unlikely. Like, really unlikely. So let's look into this. Let's find out what's going on. Xander Hall, there was actually a confirmed case of voter fraud in Pennsylvania. It was MAGA. They registered more Amish people to vote than there were Amish people in Pennsylvania, but like double the amount living there. Jesus Christ. Well, at least we finally have evidence of voter fraud. And we've actually had evidence of voter fraud for a while, not like wide scale the way Trump claims, but every mainstream instance of voter fraud that has been discovered has been done by conservatives, some by even elected conservative officials. Anyway, with all that said, let's get into this. Let's find out what's going on. Why is Trump suing this county in Pennsylvania? Is it a rare Trump W, or is it once again a case of Trump recognizing that he's going to lose before the election has even happened and beginning to prime up for the claims that this election was rigged? Let's find out.
What's the latest on this lawsuit from the Trump campaign, and what does the filing actually say?
So, we're back in the legal days when things are moving quickly. We do now have the complaint from the Trump campaign sort of laying out what they say happened. I have my computer today, Diane, because we are literally reading through it right now. But it is what you said. They are accusing this county in Pennsylvania, Bucks County, of turning away voters. They're saying that there were long lines of voters who were going to these counties to put in their applications for mail-in ballots. And what's interesting about Pennsylvania, just so the viewers at home understand, is Pennsylvania does not have a traditional early voting period. You don't go in and cast your ballot and leave. What they have is early on-demand, in-person mail-in ballots. So you can go in, request a mail-in ballot, fill it out, and vote it right away. That's how Pennsylvania does early voting. So what the campaign is saying is that they are claiming that voters were turned away around Bucks County because of the long line, saying we can't accommodate you, come back tomorrow. Because we do just have this in, and some of this was, swirling around yesterday.
Trump's campaign is suing this county because a vote office had too long of a line and turned people away to come back another day when there is not an impossible amount of people between them and their turn to get their ballot. That's not illegal, is it? Like, they can't make time go faster. They can't, make the process quicker and thus allow more people than they have the capacity to, see go in. What? Okay, so this is very clearly just Trump and his campaign attacking the state of Pennsylvania to try to fuck with the election. Okay, once again, tell me you're losing Pennsylvania without telling me you're losing Pennsylvania.
I do want to read what Bucks County said in a statement. They said that contrary to what was being depicted on social media, if you were in line by 5 p.m. At one of these locations, you will have the opportunity to submit your application for the mail-in ballot, and it will be mailed to you. They're saying that there was a miscommunication, that individuals in line to apply for one of these on-demand ballots were briefly told that they could not be accommodated. But, quote, in fact, these voters were given the opportunity to submit mail-in ballot applications today. So we haven't seen a response from the county in court. But again, Diane, this was expected. We knew that there was going to be litigation surrounding this election. There already has been over 150 cases.
Mind you, Donald Trump, in his attempts to try and undo the results of the 2020 election, I believe it was 40 or 50 plus failed court cases. Every single one failed. But I believe it was upwards of 50 court cases that where Trump attempted to challenge the results in different states, in some cases multiple times, and every time, due to zero evidence, it got, thrown out. Do you want to know what evidence Trump has used in court to claim that there was election fraud? He used vote forecasts by Fox News and other conservative outlets that predicted Trump would win in a landslide. He showed them and said, "How could I have possibly lost when so many outlets predicted me to win by so many votes?" This was not a valid argument in court and was thrown out. And obviously, the Trump campaign lost every court case they did trying to challenge the election results, because believing that you're going to win in a landslide is not, and then not winning at all, is not evidence that there was cheating or fraud. Wanting to have won and not winning is not evidence. But Donald Trump genuinely took that to court, believing it was, apparently. I mean, he knew it wasn't, but to them, it's evidence
surrounding the election. But again, here is something that we're now seeing similar to 2020, when we saw the Trump campaign going to court over things that they said on the ground were illegal. And I would point out, in 2020, nearly all of their claims were dismissed or withdrawn.
In 2020, there were also differences in what the campaign was saying publicly versus what they were actually putting in the court filing itself. Are you seeing that here?
Well, so far, it's pretty much what they're saying. They wrote in their complaint, just to read you a quote right now, that voters were, quote, turned away and forced by security to leave without applying for and obtaining a mail-in ballot, as is their right. Now, if you can spot some of the difference, but what the county is saying is that they were allowed to apply. This is what the county is saying. Voters were allowed to apply, but maybe are having their mail-in ballots mailed to them instead of voting.
They're not able to get it right then and there.
Person.
So nothing illegal is taking place, and the claim from the Trump campaign isn't even happening. I guess add this one to the list of things that Donald Trump is doing to subvert this election. He's already getting started. He's already sending frivolous lawsuits to counties in Pennsylvania to try to fuck up and slow down the election process. Maybe just trying to shut down that entire polling location, period. I'm guessing that this polling location is in a particularly blue part of a particularly blue county in Pennsylvania. Because I just got a feeling. I had a feeling there's a reason why Trump's doing this, and it's not just for the publicity. There's a motivation here. There's a way this is going to affect, or he was trying to affect, the ability for Pennsylvania to count ballots. It's so ironic that Trump, the guy who was attacking mail-in ballots like a month ago, is trying to appear as the guy who is defending people's rights to mail-in ballots. Oh, no. Ride the rails. You didn't know that's been memory hold? You didn't know? I don't like him, but I'll occasionally tune into a debate he does. But Destiny was debating one of the January 6th rioters who was arrested and put into prison, federal prison, for rioting at J6, for being one of the insurrectionists. Debated one of those fuckers, and I was like, well, I gotta see what this guy believes, this insane weirdo. And the Republicans, including that guy, have all memory hold the idea that Donald Trump claimed mail-in ballots were insecure and not to use them. They now point to the spike, the very expected, go back to my coverage on election night. The stream is still up, and watch it, and you'll see me saying to people who are doomering in chat the whole time, just wait for the mail-in ballots to start getting counted. They are going to be massively in favor of Biden. It could literally flip the results in several states, and then it did. And everyone expected this. Everyone who knew how the mail-in ballots would go expected this, because Donald Trump spent a year telling his supporters, do not vote by mail. Do not vote by mail. Do not vote by mail. He kept saying this. And then all the mail-in ballots came in, and they were Dems. And now they point to that spike in counted mail-in ballots leaning so hard Dem as suspicious. And if you bring up that Donald Trump demonized mail-in ballots and told his supporters not to vote by mail, they say, pfft. I think the guy in that debate said, you're so gullible, man. It was like, oh, okay, so they've memory hold that now? They've memory hold the idea that Trump claimed mail-in ballots were insecure now? We're all just going to pretend like that never happened. It's totally suspicious that the majority of the mail-in ballots were for Biden. Totally. We're just going to pretend like that's suspicious. Okay. So yeah, they memory hold these things. They literally they sweep it all under the rug, and they argue the opposite of what they did yesterday as evidence for the point that they're making today.
And so, again, I'm really interested to see how the county responds in court. The Secretary of State did weigh in on social media in a post yesterday saying that they had spoken to Bucks County and they were assured that every registered voter who got there by 5 p.m. will be provided the opportunity to apply for that mail-in ballot. And of course, now that period has now closed.
Olivia, what's the latest on...
So yeah, man, Donald Trump clearly sees the writing on the wall. And I mean, he probably has internal campaign polling and stuff and can probably see by now whether or not he has a chance of winning the election in Pennsylvania realistically. Man, on top of the fact that there was that disastrous event. Oh my God. That disastrous event. What was that, Oh, actually, I want to look into that story about, Pennsylvania Amish voter fraud. Oh, here it is. Pennsylvania officials investigating fraudulent voter registration applications in Lancaster County. Interesting. Okay, there's a story on this. There's a video where they report on this. So apparently, Colorado, Georgia, Pennsylvania are among states investigating election-related incidents, as they're calling them. But it seems like Republicans are engaging in voter fraud. Let's see.
Responsible for making sure this election goes off well, and that is the Secretary of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Al Schmidt. Mr. Secretary, I know you are incredibly busy, so we very much feel fortunate to have the chance to talk to you. Let's start with this issue in Lancaster County that Jane was just talking about. And officials there say that election workers identified about 2,500 voter registration forms that may be fraudulent. What do you know about who was behind this, what the DA is calling a large-scale canvassing operation, and could there be other counties affected by it?
We've been in touch with Lancaster County several times in the last couple of days to provide some guidance for what to do when it became apparent that they had received some number of voter registration or mail-in ballot applications that appear to be fraudulent. It's important that you handle cases like this responsibly. I think, from what I can understand, Lancaster County's done a great job so far in handling this responsibly. But it's important that when something like this occurs, it is caught. I think it was very good that they were very public about it, so that people know that there are checks and safeguards in this process to prevent anything like this from succeeding.
But do you have any information yet as to who could be behind this? And is this operation continuing? Could it happen in other counties in Pennsylvania or maybe in other parts of the country?
Well, we understand from the county that there was an outside organization collecting registrations and submitted them right before the voter registration deadline.
Okay, so how do you then reassure your constituents, the voters in Pennsylvania, that there won't be fraudulent ballots cast if there are attempts like this to make that happen?
Well, there's verification that goes into the voter registration process and the mail-in ballot application process. Pennsylvania is one of those states where you have to apply to vote by mail. Ballots just don't get sent out to everyone. And when you apply, you provide your driver's license number or your last four of your social security number. So there is a verification, identity, confirmation aspect in all of this. In terms of what we're seeing in Lancaster, again, when you apply to register to vote, you're providing your social security number, your driver's license number, your name, address, birthday, and all the rest. So they're able to do a verification to determine whether this is an actual legitimate voter or not.
So you're telling us the system worked. Is that what you're saying in this case?
Yes.
So this is the neat thing about our voting system. It's actually really secure. Like, it's easy to point to areas and say, like, oh, isn't this surprisingly easy? But in reality, while yes, someone theoretically could cast fraudulent ballots, they'll be caught pretty quickly. Like, the ballots themselves will be noticed, figured out, subtracted, and the person who did it generally is found. Even the arsonist who was destroying ballot boxes recently across multiple states was just found. He was a conservative. He was like a real scraggly Republican voter, very publicly pro-MAGA online. So no one's surprised there, obviously. Everyone predicted that it would be a conservative. Everyone knows. Obviously, there are no progressives out there destroying ballots or trying to keep people from voting, because less people voting hurts the Dems. It hurts Kamala Harris. It hurts the Democratic nominee. The more people that vote, the higher the chances are of the Democrat winning. So there is no universe in which Dems are destroying ballot boxes. There's no universe in which Dems are pushing people away from the polls and not letting them vote, because the more voters, the better the outcome for the people they are accusing of trying to keep people from voting. It is so hilarious to me that as we are getting actual evidence of attempts at voter fraud from Republicans across the country, the Republicans are hyper-focusing on the idea that the Dems are actually trying to prevent their voters from voting now. They fully flipped the script to the Dems are doing voter disenfranchisement, and the Republicans are the ones that just want to get as many votes cast as possible. Yeah, right, dude. Come on, man. Nice try gaslighting, but I remember last election. Anyway. If you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, enjoyable, or perhaps even educational, then please consider leaving a like. Every single thumbs up, if you don't know, goes a long way to boost my channel in the algorithm in real time, by the way, forcing YouTube to push my content out to new people. So it helps the channel grow immensely, and it really does mean a lot, as do comments as well. If you like and comment both those things, you are goated, like genuinely goated. If you are someone who hits the like button and comments anything on all my videos, you're fucking goated. I hope you know you're fucking awesome. Anyway, on top of that, if you want to see more from me, please consider, subscribing, ringing the bell icon, turning on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video. And of course, perhaps even consider following my social medias. Link down below in the description to see more from me on other platforms, including joining my fan Discord, which is totally free to join, mind you. And on top of that, the link is in the description beneath all of my social media, don't forget. And it's the main hub of my fan base and community. I actually, at least once a week, host a game event, call-in streams, or watch parties there. And on top of that, I announce all my new uploads or streams there too. So if you're in my Discord and you've got notifications turned on, then dude, you're set. And finally, if you want to support me directly, if you can afford it and you feel like it, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or supporting me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buying merch of the Streamlabs link down below. It helps me to keep the lights on and the roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, so thank you to everybody who does that. And finally, no matter what you do, even if you're a lurker, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you have a good one.